Hi everyone, it's Tamara here with another card making tutorial. Being that it's February, I thought I would do some more fairy cards, and I've had this guy in my stash for quite a while, so I wanted to use him up. His name is Fierce Fairy Felix from Mo's Digital Pencil, so I thought he'd be perfect for this month. I actually was also inspired by the pattern paper that I used on the background of this card, so I'm sure you're like me and have got heaps of pattern paper lined up in drawers around you, so make sure you go through it and pull out a few pieces and just get inspired by the color schemes of those pieces of pattern paper, and then you can just make a really simple card just using the colors to color up your image and then just doing some pattern paper in the background. So let's get started with some coloring and then we'll do the card making tutorial. So our products today, I've printed Fierce Fairy Felix on some Copic XPress It Cardstock. I'll be using the Rainforest Retreat Paper Pack from Uniquely Creative, and this is the pattern paper that I'll be using. And because I didn't have a correct size rectangle die for what I wanted to do with Felix, I grabbed out this Slimline, which was perfect either side of him, but we're just going to have to do some creative cutting to make it fit to the length that I want top to bottom. And then I'll be using this fun sentiment from MFT Sassy Pan's birthday greetings because I thought it really matched with the look on his face. So let's get started now with the colouring. As always, I'll have all the lids with the Copic coloured numbers up on the top left hand side, and then I will also have them listed down in the description box below. So with this guy, I'm going to have the shadows on the right hand side and my light source kind of coming from the top left hand corner. So I'm just adding now in my shadows with my lightest color before going in with my darkest color. So obviously I will be coloring over that part of his hair as well, where it's kind of growing through with that little stubble. So but you still need to kind of put your markers, your skin markers in those spots as well. So I'm just going in with the darkest color, which for my shadows, which is the EO4, and just obviously you'll get some shadows thrown from those kind of suspenders that he's got, and then obviously also where his legs kind of get tucked in underneath him, and then obviously there will be a shadow at the back where the sunlight's not getting on that side of his back of his leg. Now the next color to color out that EO4 is the E15, and you can see that I did put a little bit of shadowing under his nose, and also where he's kind of got that lip kind of sticking up, I put a bit of shadowing under there as well. So I'm just doing little flicking motions out to get a nice kind of rough edge, so it makes it easier to blend that out when I go in with my other color. I did miss a bit there, so I've just gone in with my E15. So I think I've got all the bits that I need. Now the next color in my color scheme is E13, so we'll blend out that E15, and obviously there will be a little bit of shadowing where his eyebrows go over his eyes, so I put the E13. I didn't want it too dark in there. So we'll get all the shadows blended out from that E15 with the E13. So it will be quite shadowed on that back leg and just on that inner side of this leg, and a little bit where his suspenders and his neck will be quite shadowed as well because he's got his head jutting right out. Then our next color is E21 to blend out the E13, blending out around those eyes and under his nose and lip. And as I said, most of this back of his arm will be in shadow, as well as that back leg. We'll get most of that colored up with this E21. Just leaving those few highlights that will be showing with that sun shining down. So we'll go back to our final, which is our first color that we use, which is the E00 to blend out the E21. So just making sure we've got a nice smooth blend going over and going into that white cardstock, and our final highlight down that leg of his. Now because he has these cute little chubby cheeks, I thought it'd be nice to put some kind of like little pink color to brighten those up. So I've gone in with my R32, blend that out with my R01, and then for the darker side I'm just going to use the E21 to blend that out, but for the lighter side I'm going to use the lightest color, which was the E00, to make sure that's a nice smooth blend. Now for our lightest color for the hair is my YG01, so I'm just going to go in there initially and just go into where the darkest shadowing is, just to make sure that, because there are some sections of hair that you know, are sprayed apart, so I just wanted to make sure I was putting this in the right spot before I went in with my darkest color, which will be the BG99. So I'm just going to only put a small amount of this because obviously he doesn't have a huge amount of hair. So I've just put that very much against his actual head. And then we'll blend that out with the BG96, just working that slightly up a little bit more, but again, not too much because we want to make sure we've got a nice highlight at the top of his hair. So most of the shadow will be at the back there. So now we'll go in with our YG25 to blend that BG96 out. Just working up, making sure that we don't go into the sections that aren't hair, because there are quite a few gaps between some of these strands. And that gorgeous mohawk of his. Our second lightest color is our YG03. And we'll just work that up into those little spaces before we go in with our highlight color, which was the first color we used, which is the YG01 again. So now we'll just go into those top highlights, working it down and just going to only the sections of hair. And that's his hair done. Now I did want on that little kind of stubble on the back of his head a little bit of darker shadowing, but obviously it will still be quite light because it's only just coming in. And that's his hair done. So I did want some little white stripes on his shorts because I thought that would go well with my color scheme that I'm going for. So again, I grabbed out my C's. My C3 is the darkest for the shadow, C01, and then the C00 for our little bit of shading that we've got on our white. Now the rest of the shorts are going to be green and the same colors that we used for his hair. I've just kept it pretty simple today, just using the same color scheme so that you can just bring out the same markers for everything in this card. So I've put all my shadows in with my YG01, and now I'm going in with that darkest color again, which is the BG99, to get the shadows in. Blending that out, obviously it will be quite shadowed underneath the shorts legs, and obviously at the very back of those shorts. So we'll get some thrown from his little stomach that he's kind of sticking out over the top. So we'll go in with the BG25 to fill in that back space because it will be quite dark. And then blending out the other sections kind of down the base of his pants and anywhere kind of on that right hand side. Just make sure we don't hit that white stripe of his pants. And now we'll blend out with the YG03. And our final highlight color just on that kind of left hand side will be the YG01 again. And there his little shorts done. Now again, I'm just going to use the same greens for the ground. So again, grabbing out our lightest YG01 to kind of set out where that floor or ground will be. So a nice little green grass that he's standing on. We're going in with the BG99 for the very kind of shadow underneath his body and obviously to the back right hand side. Blending that out now with the YG25, just doing like little flicking motions so we've got a nice smooth transition between each of our colors. And again, the final color, the YG01, to get a nice soft edge to our ground. Now I kind of wanted some see-through-y kind of looking wings, and I did initially I was going to just go from kind of a blue color down the bottom to yellow at the top, but as they're kind of separated with those little sections, I thought it might be nice just to have each section with a little bit of blue at the bottom and then the yellow at the top per section. So I've gone in with my darkest color down the bottom, my BG11, blended that out with my BG10, and going in with my BG70 to get just a nice kind of soft edge where the yellow will meet that from coming from the top. So I've just kind of turned my image around so that I can get the darkest Y11 at the very top of those sections, blend that out with my Y00, and then my final color to get a nice kind of soft blend between the yellow and the blue will be my Y000, which I'll bring in next. So just kind of doing a nice smooth blend down. I did miss one spot there, so that's why I went in with the other two colors. So we went the Y000 now to get a full blend into that blue, so it kind of has like a little green tinge as those two colors meet. And I'll do the same on these ones, just that blue down the bottom, working with in the same way with the same colors. But I thought I'll show you just in case, because obviously this is slightly sped up so that you can see just what that looks like. So just make sure you just do a kind of very soft, just like light flicking motions, but leaving plenty of white space for those yellow portions to go in. And as I said, I like to flip mine around so that I can slowly work those yellow colors down into that blue. So obviously there's a couple of little spots that are a little bit smaller. So just obviously this one's got more space, so you get a nice, more shine showing through there. And we'll do that top one again, working the same colors in the same way. So we'll go our BG10 to blend out the BG11. Just being careful around that green hair that we don't transfer that to our wings. And then we'll bring in the yellows again, just flipping that around so that we can work from the top down. Again, just being careful around his hair there. So now we'll blend that out, and our colouring is nearly done with our final pass of the Y000. And now we've got a beautiful smooth blend between our wings. Now I nearly forgot to do the little ropes that form his kind of like suspenders. So I'm going my darkest colour to put my shadows in, which is my E89, and kind of obviously we'll have a slight shadow up the right hand side of both of those suspenders. Blend that out with the E87, and then our final lightest colour for our highlight will be our E84. And our little suspenders are done. And I did want to add just a little bit of shadowing to this little spot where the suspenders attached to. That's hard to say. Okay, now our image is all done. We're ready to run this through our die cutting machine with our Slimline die. So I'm just working out where I need that placed, just using my purple tape to secure that down, and then I'll run that through my die cutting machine off camera. So we've got our top section done, so we want to match in with our border of stitching down the bottom. So I'm just lining that up, and you can feel as those stitches lock into place that you've got it in the right spot. So now we've got a perfect stitched border all the way around for a perfectly sized cardstock. Now, because it was kind of a little bit off with that ground, it was kind of a little bit of blank space on the right hand side, just going in with those grass colors again, just to kind of extend that out a little bit. So we'll go in with the YG03, just extending it to the right, and then our final pass to soften everything up with our YG01, and that just kind of fills in that space a little bit and makes it more kind of square. And that's the colouring done for them. So we'll get our Misty out and we'll get our sentiment stamped in there. I'm just going to do that with black ink. So my black onyx black ink from VersaFine. So I'm just lining up that sentiment underneath, making sure that's nice and centered on our front of our cardstock. And we'll give that a stamp. Give that a good press down, but I do always like to do two just to make sure we've got a nice impression, and we'll set that aside to dry. Now I've grabbed out my Viscose trimmer and some cardstock to kind of match in with those little flecks that are in our pattern paper, and I'll cut this down to 9 inches by 5.5 inches, scored at 4.5 inches to form our card front. Now that that's scored, I'm going to just use my Teflon bone folder to burnish that. And now we're just going to cut our pattern paper to size as well. So again, that's going to be 4.5 inches by 5 inches to cover the full front of that panel. I popped some glue on it already, just making sure it's lined up on all sides and giving that a good press down. And I did also put it under a book so that it is nice and heavy as well. So initially I was just going to center it right in the middle, but I thought it might be nice just to offset it a little bit to the left. So you've got a little bit of pattern paper showing on the left-hand side, but more showing on the right-hand side. And I just thought that looked a little bit more visually pleasing. Now I couldn't find some of my foam tape, so I actually grabbed out some foam tape that I've had in my stash for a while from Couture Creations foam mounting tape. I've put that on the back of our panel and taken off the release paper, and now I'm just lining it up. I find it easy to line the top up first and then down the side, and then make sure that that's nice and straight and give it a good press down. And this is a finished card for this tutorial. So it's so fun just choosing a gorgeous image, getting inspired by your pattern paper, and actually using up some of that pattern paper that you've got in your stash, because it can be quite dynamic to use that paper to create a beautiful card, and it really does make card making a lot quicker as well. I hope you've enjoyed this card making tutorial. If you have, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see any future videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.